Shorty back again. I'm about to discuss some more playoffs and my feelings regarding the playoffs that have happened thus far. So we're going to get right back into it. We're doing the Los Angeles Clippers at Utah game 1. Utah won that game 112 and Clippers 109. Very good game, as you can see, very close. Utah didn't have Mike Conley. He had a hamstring injury, so it was a good opportunity for the Clippers to actually get this game. Obviously, they failed by 3 points. But Donovan Mitchell was a story. Donovan Spider Mitchell was the story of this game. He scored 45 points, and at some point in the game, he decided that he was going to take over, and he dominated. He actually had a lot of help from Bogdanovich and Jordan Clarkson. Each of them had 18 points. And it was pretty much a total team effort, but Donovan Mitchell really stood out. You know, he got to the paint when he wanted to. His jumper was falling, his three-pointer was falling for the most part, and he just took over the game on offense and defense. You know, he had a phenomenal game. On the other side, you had Kawhi Leonard, who had 23 points, and you had Paul George that had 20 points. I feel like both of them could have played better in that game. They played decently, but I think both of them could have had more of an impact on the game. My feelings towards the Clippers, basically, between Kawhi and Paul George, basically I don't like their chemistry. I think they're both individual great players. I think Kawhi could pretty much play with anybody, but I don't know. There's something between him and Paul George. I feel like they take turns on offense. I don't feel like they play as a cohesive unit.
Wow.
Yeah, they're very talented, but I just think the chemistry on that team is terrible in terms of their dynamic. You know, I don't think they really have problems with each other, but I just feel like their games are similar in a lot of ways. You know, they play similar positions. I think at times they get in each other's way. You know, I just don't think they're cohesive enough. You know, and I think that's why they lose games that they should win sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think this is something that they could actually work on? Like if they go back and review the tape, can they,
I think it's something they probably have worked on because this is their second year together. They didn't just come together this season.
So you think
This is
this
their
might
second
be
year.
as good as it gets between them?
I think it's possible. I think it's possible unless Paul George changes the way he plays maybe a little bit. I don't think Kawhi's changing. Kawhi doesn't have to change. Kawhi's won championships playing the way he plays. Paul George hasn't. So I think there might have to be adjustment with Paul George, you know. Or maybe they just can't play well together. Some players just don't, you know, they just don't have that chemistry. It happens. You know, they're both talented players. I don't take anything away from them, but I just think that when you play a position that's very similar, sometimes, you know, you can get in each other's way. You have a similar style of playing. You know, I think Kawhi's a little different, but I think, like I said, they play a similar position. And I just feel like they take turns sometimes. I don't know if it's the coach, I don't know what it is, but I just think their styles of play they don't relate to each other very well. You know, in terms of the style of play.
On the court.
On the court. I don't think they have personal issues. I don't know that. I don't see, it doesn't look like they have personal issues.
Right. Your commentary
My commentary has nothing to do with them, whether they get along or not off the court. My commentary is strictly based on what I see on the court.
Got it.
And I just feel like they're just not fluid enough. I think that has been an issue since last season. And I think I think they've gotten better, but I think that continues to be a problem in certain instances. You know. With that said, I have a prediction on that series.
Okay, let's hear this now.
My prediction is that Utah will take that series in 7 games. I feel like
tough, huh?
Huh?
You
I think it's going to be a tough series because the Clippers are very talented. They have a lot of good players, but I think Utah is a more cohesive unit. You know, and Donovan Mitchell, he looks like he's on a mission. He looks very focused, and Utah could have very easily lost that game. But Donovan Mitchell said, no, we're not. He said, no, we're not going to lose it. And he willed his team to the win. You know, and Donovan Mitchell in that game was the best player on the court that game.
Okay.
A lot of people tell you Kawhi is better or Paul George is better, but in that game, Donovan Mitchell was the best player on that court, and it was clear. It was clear. He dominated that game.
Okay.
And the Clippers didn't have an answer for him.
Mm.
So, based on the way Utah plays as a unit, especially if they get Mike Conley back, I don't see the Clippers winning that series. I think it's going to be a tough series just because the Clippers are so talented. They might be the most talented team out of both of those teams, but I think Utah just defensively and the way they move the ball and the way they're a very good 3-point shooter team. I don't see the Clippers pulling the series out.
Okay. All right.
So, my pick Utah in 7.
Got it.
All right. Excuse me. That's it for the Clippers in Utah. I'm gonna move on to the Denver and the Suns series, Game 1. Suns won that game 122. Denver 105. Suns look great in that game. They have four Sun players scored 20 or more points, which is pretty remarkable. And I have to point out Chris Paul's improved health. The series before, when the Suns were playing against the Lakers, Chris Paul got a shoulder injury, a pretty bad shoulder injury, and he was pretty much hampered throughout that series. This series, he started looking better. His shoulder looks like it's improved. He's playing much better, and that's showing on the court. And I think it had a lot to do with the fact that the Suns won that game. Also, I have to look at Coach Monty Williams' impact. He's just a player's coach, and I feel like that team really loves playing for him. They really love playing for him. I feel like the team gets along with him very well. I feel like he instills a lot of confidence in his players, and they go to bat for him. They just seem like a very collective unit.
Mm.
And it shows. It shows based on how hard these players play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has a lot to do with the coach. So I have to give him his kudos. He's a guy who could have won Coach of the Year. Tom Thibodeau won it, but Monty Williams was right there. He was just as deserving.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to shout him out real quick. On the Denver side, Jokic played fairly well in that game, but DeAndre Ayton, who plays for the Suns, pretty much matched him. It was pretty much a wash in that game. They both scored around 20 points. I think Jokic had 22 and Ayton had 20, which Jokic is the MVP of the league. You would expect him to dominate that matchup, and he didn't really dominate it. Pretty much they just canceled each other out. That's a win for the Suns, and that's a win for DeAndre Ayton, because he wasn't really expected to match up that closely with Jokic in terms of numbers. And he's been performing very well in the series so far. So if they're gonna match each other, it's gonna be very difficult for Denver to win any of those games. Another comment I have to make is Aaron Gordon. After that game, Aaron Gordon, who plays for Denver, said he's talking about his own team now, and he said they played scared and they played soft.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yo, that's strong. That's strong language right there for your own team.
That's very strong language against your own team.
Wow.
He obviously feels that's true.
Yeah, he said what he said.
He said it during the press conference. That's how he feels. He said his team plays soft and scared, and he didn't exclude himself. He played fairly well in that game. He had 18 points. But what he saw is his team being soft and scared. That doesn't bode well when you make comments like that. I mean, whether they're true or not, you're going to get flack for that.
Right.
And
how do you feel? Do you agree or disagree with the comment?
I don't necessarily will say they played scared. I don't think they played scared. They in some instances, may have played a little soft. Scared, I think, is a little tough. But he's on the court with his teammates.
He's there.
He's there. I mean, that's his opinion. I guarantee you there's players on that team that would not say that. I mean, but his own coach said that his own coach didn't use the word scared, but his own coach said soft. His own coach Mike Malone used the word soft as well.
Wow.
So
They might have left scared out of the equation.
Yeah.
Because that sounds like you don't want to
Yeah,
put that
Aaron
out
Gordon
there.
used soft and scared. He said pick one. He said you could. He said
Wow.
Yeah, so he used both words. If that's tough when you're in the playoffs to say something like that, whether you and me personally, I feel like that's something you should just leave in the locker room.
Yeah,
I don't
keep
think
that
you should say
between the team.
I never think you should say that publicly because the other team is like they hear that too.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, these guys are not together.
Right.
And teams pounce on that.
Right.
Good teams pounce on that. So I felt like maybe he could have reserved that comment for the locker room.
I would agree.
Kept it private.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion. Sometimes players, in the heat of the moment, with emotions still flowing, they say things. Maybe he regrets it, maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
But
well, unfortunately, those press conferences are live.
Yeah, they're live, and it's these guys. A lot of people forget how young these guys are.
They're young, and they just come off the court,
right.
so they're still in their feelings.
They're angry. They felt like they could have won the game, possibly. You never know what's going on behind the scenes. But obviously, it's an emotional game, especially during the playoffs.
Right.
So, but like I said, me personally, I'd rather keep that in-house. That's just my personal opinion.
I agree.
All right, moving on to Game 2 against Denver at the Suns. Phoenix scored 123, and Denver scored 98. Now, that was a little bit worse than the first game. Basically, the story of that game was Chris Paul took over. At 36 years old, Chris Paul had 17 points, 15 assists, and no turnovers.
Wow.
Which is pretty remarkable for someone 36 years old. That's remarkable just about for any point guard to actually score 17 points. The points are not that high, but it's the impact of those points. 17 points, 15 assists are unbelievable. That's a very high number in assists and 0 turnovers. Pretty much awesome. That's the stat that stands out most to me is the 0 turnovers.
Nice.
You got 15 assists and 0 turnovers. You controlled the game. You controlled the game and you protected the ball. That's the big reason why they got that win. 6 players in that game for the Suns were scored in double figures. So that goes to show you that they moved the ball. They shared the ball. Nobody on that team had 20 points. The highest score on that team was 18 points. So they shared the ball.
Nice.
They shared the ball. Most of their bench contributed very well. You had players on the bench that scored 8, players on the bench scored 7 points. So they had really good contributions off the bench. So like I said again, 6 of their players scored in double figures. On the other side, we got Nikola Jokic. He had 24 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists. Had a great game, but he was the only one on his team that had a great game. Next highest scorer had 11. 2 players with 11.
No bueno.
You had Michael Porter Jr. with 11 and Paul Millsap with 11. That's it. They really got no contributions from anybody else worth anything.
That's awful.
And that's terrible for a playoff game. Terrible for any game, but definitely a playoff game. They basically left Jokic out there by himself.
Wow.
Which is crazy. He needs a lot more help than that. So, with no Jamal Murray, it's tough. Jamal Murray's the other star player. He's been out for a while, has a torn ACL, and he won't be back till next season. So
wow,
that hurts them. That hurts them. And him and Jokic, they have very good chemistry. And that's missing obviously. So I have to mention that. Also, Mike Malone had another statement. Coach Malone had another statement after that game. He says the team quit.
Whoa, these are some serious statements going on here.
That's very serious.
Wow.
And he said it publicly, in the press conference as well. Problem is, Jokic doesn't agree because they interviewed Jokic, and Jokic says, I don't think we quit. He says, I know I didn't quit.
Right.
And I agree with him. He did not quit. I don't know what to say about the other players on the team, but Mike Malone thinks they quit.
Well, would you agree with Coach Malone that maybe the other players? I mean, Joker aside.
Joker was fine. Possibly, because they didn't play well. But just because you don't play well doesn't mean you quit. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say what someone's intentions are. You know, but from what I saw in the court, they look discouraged. Whether they quit or not, that's subjective. You know, I hope they didn't quit. You know, these guys get paid a lot of money. I'm just being
Not
real.
to quit.
They get paid a lot of money not to quit. You can lose, but don't quit.
Right.
And don't quit on somebody like Mike Malone. Don't quit on somebody like the Joker. Like, you're quitting on guys that they're you know, Mike Malone is trying to win the game. The Joker is trying to win the game. Even Will Barton just came back. He just came back from a hamstring injury. He was on a minutes restriction, but he played well. He had 10 points in about 16 minutes. He played well. You know, I know he didn't quit. Because I don't think Mike Malone, I don't think Will Barton wanted to be taken out of the game. When Mike Malone took him out of the game, he was like, your minutes are up. You know, I think Will Barton was mad. You know, but, you know, he had to take him out of the game. In fairness to Michael Porter Jr., he has a back injury now. Yeah, he played, but you could tell he was stiff the whole game.
And that must have
You
hurt.
could tell
too.
he was stiff.
Oh,
so he went out there and played hurt.
Aww.
So I give Michael Porter Jr. credit. You know, even playing hurt, he had 11 points. But you could tell he wasn't himself. He couldn't move fluidly at all. But the other players, I don't know. But when you have your coach saying his team quit in the second game of the playoffs, the second game of your series, in the second round, that's a problem.
Right. It's going to get in their head.
That's a problem.
Well, hopefully it's either going to push them or it's going to mess with their head next game.
Right. And it remains to be seen how they're going to react to it. I'm interested to see how they react to it. You know, is it going to be... Is it going to cause more issues with the team, or amongst the team, or is it going to be galvanizing? If it has a galvanizing effect, that's good. Maybe they go back to Denver and they win. But if not, it can really break a team up.
Yeah.
You know, they're clearly not on the same page. That's a problem. And you're playing against a team that's very connected. They don't have those problems in Phoenix. You know, they're playing very well. So it's going to be interesting to see how Denver bounces back from this. You know, and how the players react.
Right.
Because he's talking about his players. You know, Michael Porter Jr. was talking about his players. Well, Aaron Gordon rather was talking about his players when he said they scared and soft. He was talking about his teammates. So it remains to be seen how these guys react to it.
Right.
You know, if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. But like I said from the beginning, you shouldn't air stuff like that publicly. I think that's stuff that should be held in-house in the locker room amongst the coaches and the players. That's just my personal opinion, but that's all I have for that one.
Okay. That's it for this
That's
talk?
That's it for this talk. That's all I have for these games. Oh, one more thing. My prediction on this one.
Oh, yeah. How could we forget?
I can't forget the prediction.
I can't
forget the prediction. Phoenix in 5.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
Phoenix
right.
in 5. I think Denver's done. I think they're done psychologically. And I just don't think the Joker has enough help right now. I think it would be very different if Jamal Murray was playing. But obviously he's hurt. But
Well, we'll see if the team is galvanized
we'll see.
the comments.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
We'll
But
see. And folks out there, you let us know down in the comments what your thoughts are. Do you agree with the comments that have been made during the press conferences? You know, agree, disagree? Let us know down in the comments.
yeah, that's right. But yeah, it remains to be seen how they bounce back. It depends on how mentally strong the team is. You know, and it's like I said, it could go either way. There could be problems with the coach, where they're like, you know what, he doesn't have our back, or whatever the case may be. They may look at it that way. They may feel attacked, or they may feel like he's right, and they may step up. You know, you never know how players are going to respond.
Right.
You know, but I think players respond better when it's private. Especially some players. Some players, they live by that. They don't want to be embarrassed publicly.
Right.
So it just depends on how hard-nosed your players are. But should be interesting either way.
Either way. All right.
That's a
Sounds
wrap.
good. Well, will we be seeing you tomorrow?
Possibly. Yeah, there's 2 games tonight, so I'll probably have some comments about the games that happened tonight.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to hearing that. So everybody, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss an upload. And definitely, if you've been enjoying these commentaries on the playoffs so far, hit that like button as well.
Indeed.
All
Appreciate
right.
it. Thank you.
Peace out.
Peace out.